Hey, y'all. I'm so happy to be back after Christmas break. I have not done this show in 2 weeks. And I want to tell y'all, I couldn't figure out the other day. I was like, I'm feeling kind of down. And then I realized I haven't done my show in 2 weeks. And I miss talking to awesome people like Manuj, and I miss everybody out there. So I'm really excited to be back tonight. And I have my friend Manuj Aggarwal with me. And I'm not going to even try to tell y'all his background. You already read a little in the intro. Manuj, I want you to tell them about your background and how you got started.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. Yeah, my background, I come from a technology background. I did a lot of work in the tech industry, helped a lot of startups since 1997. So I saw the dot-com boom, and I was very new in North America, so I didn't even know like what this whole thing is all about. Buying shares and them increasing in value, people becoming millionaires overnight. And that was like a total a fairy world to me at that time.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about my dogs. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's not good. So yeah, and then September 11th happened, dot-com bust happened, September
Yep.
11th happened in succession. So that led to a series of setbacks, obviously professionally, for me. And then I figured out, okay, I need to think of a different way of setting up my business. So I went into consulting, started consulting with the more startups, and not only early stage startups, but some startups which were incubated within larger corporations like Microsoft and Pearson, and
Okay.
they were like humongous budgets, like 100 million or more. And I got to really understand how startup industry works, how larger companies work, and where they are they're lacking in terms of growth, how what slows them down. So basically picked up a lot of these solutions that people don't get to see by working in these different verticals, different
Yeah.
domains, and then putting them together from one industry to another. And that was really fascinating to see. It's easy to implement these solutions if you just have a wide awareness of what those solutions are.
Mhm.
And that helped me in my career. And then moving forward, worked on a lot of sort of understanding the human mind, because of my own personal challenges, my challenges in my relationships with my parents, with my spouse, with my kids. Went into like a journey about discovering how the mind works, and learning a lot of things from there, applying the things that I learned in technology. And you'll be surprised how much parallels there exist between the world of technology, how computers work, and how our brains work. So
Yeah.
it's a fascinating. So you can apply actually some principles that you learn from one field to another. And so that's what I do. I mean, I help people look at their problems, especially in the business world, and solve them using a mix of technology, human psychology, data science, AI, those type of things.
I love that combination because people think of computers, and not, uh, they don't think of it behaviorally unless they're thinking of AI. But still, even just regular old coding has to be done with human behavior in mind because of
Exactly.
usability and everything. And it's funny because I started my business in '96, so I've all that whole .com
Yeah.
thing, and I actually developed a subscription based product back in the late '90s and sold it right before the .com bubble burst.
Oh
So,
wow!
yeah.
Congrats.
So,
Congrats.
but I was a mom. So, I was working part time. I was a mother. I was helping care for my father in law who had Alzheimer's. And so my family was always priority. I've been working ever since, but I never was able to be like, this is, so I never got into the big stuff like you did. So I love what you've done. And I think the fact that you've been able to see the small startups, the startups within the corporate environment, and then just the regular corporate environment as well, you're able to see from all these different angles. And that gives so much value because most people only see like a regular corporate world or maybe the startup world, within the corporate world, or small business. They don't get to see all these different aspects.
Yeah.
That really brings a lot of value. But I want you to go back, though, because people are going to go, yeah, fine, Manuj was able to do it, but I could never do it. So I want you to explain, before you got to Canada, what your life was like.
Oh yeah, tough life. So I was born in India in a very small town, and that small town, at least this was like 25 years ago, didn't have a lot of opportunities, not in terms of higher education, not in terms of employment and things like that. It was tough life, and I was working in a factory, and basically from there I got interested in computers, and somehow I scraped together some money to enroll myself in a computer course, and that's sort of where everything started. I found computers to be very fascinating. I was a very an extremely introverted child, so that helped me to learn computers because I didn't have to like interact with the machine at all. So I just said, okay, do this, and the computers did it. And it was like, okay, this is great. And in terms of adversity, coming from a background where I had very limited resources, nothing, like hardly anybody knew me, hardly anybody. And then going from that environment, coming to North America, the very first job I had in North America, within 3 months, I got fired because I didn't know the culture, I didn't know the language. I had a decent.
Was that coding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of adversity, I mean, when I look at it, I have an accent which people do not quite understand readily. Even when I came here, certain micro expressions that people use, they'll say a few words, and then culturally, this is a funny thing, and they'll just laugh at it. And I'll be sitting there like, what did you just say? I really didn't get it.
and English speakers take it for granted because most of us, unless in Europe or something, don't have to learn other languages.
Exactly.
So I know what you mean because I speak Spanish. I'm not very fluent anymore, but I know what you mean. There's a difference in being able to speak it and really being conversant.
Exactly. So I was like a total outsider, I mean, from all points of view, I had every disadvantage that you can think of. So talking about adversity is like, okay, what can you do about it? I mean, you cannot do anything about my accent. You cannot do anything about the skin of my color or anything like that, right? So you just gotta take that and say, okay, this is what I have to work with. Let's focus on what I can do about this. What are the qualities that I can hone that become so valuable, as you put it, that all other factors which are drawbacks for me, they become negligible. So how can I get there so that I have to live with this accent, I have to live with all these situations, but what else can I do which becomes so valuable to others that none of this matters anymore?
Well, and Manuj, I love that because I mean, I'm as guilty of this as anybody. We all have our pity parties, but then if I take a step back, I'm like, man, Manuj had all these things he had to overcome. I've had a few things, but nothing like you did. And so to me, you're so inspiring because you show that there are no excuses. And and my whole thing is I always try to concentrate, and I tell other people to concentrate on what you can control, and whatever you can't control, forget about it.
Exactly.
What's the use in worrying about it? If you sit there and wallow in it, it doesn't help. So
no, I mean, I really appreciate your kind words, but I can tell you one thing: growing up in a third world country, it's a totally different experience. Obviously, I didn't have an easy life, but there are many people who have done like 100 times, 1,000 times more in terms of what they have seen or suffered in their life and where they are right now. So it's like a third world country. Growing up can make you or break you. Like it will prepare you for like anything to face life, whatever throws at you.
Well, and of course, average Americans, even the poorest Americans, yeah, I'm not worldly. I've not lived in other countries. My husband has, but even the poorest Americans probably are not poor,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Right.
And so we just tend to take so much for granted. So I just want you to know that I appreciate your success so much. And I just think that you're so inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So tell us more about what your company does. So your company is Tetranoodle, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, what we do is I say that we sell genius solutions. We have two geniuses on the team. We have so far 6 PhDs on the team.
Wow.
So what we do is we look at solutions that people generally do not look for. And that also comes, as I described earlier, by looking for solutions in different industries and applying them in sort of in a cross-pollinated manner.
Uh-huh.
So that allows us to look at any given situation, whether it's growing your business, whether it's setting up the right processes, implementing the right technology, evaluating multiple options, because that's where a lot of time goes.
Mhm.
So we look at the end result that anybody's trying to achieve, and then come up with the shortest and the quickest path to that end goal. Conventionally speaking, humans have this tendency to believe the truth is the truth as they think about it. But
Mhm.
when you really peel back some layers, the truth is just a belief. Basically, um, it's like a dollar bill basically is your belief in the fact that
Yeah.
somebody will pay you an equivalent of either a dollar or a
Yeah.
value of that, and the guy or a gal who's going to accept that dollar will have the same belief. So it's a make believe thing. So if you just like peel off those layers and you say, okay, this is what you want, okay, these are the steps which will get you there.
Uh-huh.
And in most cases people get puzzled, like, okay, don't you have to do that first? For example, I talk about bootstrapping a lot.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people generally in the tech industry, they say, if you want to build a company, you have to raise money in $1 million,
Yeah.
and that is your first step, right? So whenever they think about, okay, I have an idea, I want to launch a company, okay, do you have a business plan? Do you have a pitch deck? Do you have have you raised money? I'm like, I mean, never in the entire history of the world humans built businesses by building pitch decks. They
That's for
went out there.
sure. Yeah, they gotta have their logo first. Yeah.
They went out there, they talked to people, they said, okay, what kind of problems you're having, guys? Okay, I can solve that problem. If I solve that problem, will you pay me? I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's how businesses are built. So then when I say these things to a lot of tech startup people, they're like, you have no clue what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't. So but if you want results, this is the shortest path.
Yeah.
And some people get it, some people don't get it, but that's what we do, like show them the right path. And secondly, ideas are dime a dozen. So we say, okay, if you can take these ideas, implement it, that's great. But if you need help with implementation, because that's where most people fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, when I say most, like, there are humongous screw ups that I have witnessed. I have turned around a lot of screw ups from the verge of disaster because of simple little things which people ignore. And yeah, so we say, okay, implementation is what where everything counts. So if
Yeah.
you're struggling with implementation, we help there as well.
So when you're coming up with these solutions, is pretty much everything around technology, or is it all different
No, it's
aspects?
human. See, problems are like all problems, when we break them down into components at the basic level, they are similar. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like there are 3 categories of problems people have. Okay, how do I save money? How do I make money? And how do I save time? Because you cannot make time, right? So these are the basic problems that
Okay.
people have. Everything else is a stacked upon problem on these basic things, right?
Great. I love that. Yes. Okay. Those three. That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah. So you can now take any problem and break it down into these three components and say, okay, if you want to save time, these are the things where you're spending time. So let's figure out how to make it faster.
Yeah.
And
That's me, Manuj. I'm terrible at that.
no, but we are all like that. I mean, nobody is perfect, and time management is a it doesn't come easy. Like, we
Yeah.
have so much distraction around us. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if we figure it out that, okay, time management is a problem, technology plays a big role in that, because
Mhm.
that's where technology can really improve things, because we can automate things and get rid of a lot of manual time
Yeah.
that goes into doing things. Or it could be making money. Okay, how do we make money? What are the marketing techniques? What are the sales techniques we can implement?
Mhm.
um, or we can save money, which, where operations optimizations comes in. You're already making money, but you want to make more or save more or whatever. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, you can break it down into these components and then say, okay, this is where you need more manpower, this is where you need more technology solutions, this is where
Okay.
you need to scale back somewhat, or whatever it is. So it sounds complex, but when you break it down into simpler chunks, it's quite simple, actually.
Yeah, that's the key to most things. Break it down into tasks that you can deal with instead of looking at the whole big thing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
being overwhelmed.
Mhm.
So, would you ever have imagined that you would have had 6 PhDs working for you?
No, no, no.
Think back all those years, Manuj. Would if somebody had come up and said, one day you are going to be working with IBM and you were going to have PhDs work, you would have been like, "You're crazy,"
Yeah.
right?
No, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's very true. I was thinking about that because I couldn't even, like, I struggled to even get the modest education. I was just laughing at myself. I was like, oh man. The first ever incident where I got to work with PhDs, I was, working on a project, on an AI related project. It was very, very specific, related to wearables and healthcare, and it was very precise, and it was, it had to be really, really well thought out. And so I was trying to put together a team, so hired a few PhDs, and I entered into this bizarre world of academia.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I'm like, because I didn't go to, Ivy League college, or
Oh, I didn't either. So
I'm like, okay, these guys, they only think in theory, like they only think in books,
yeah.
like they do not, they like, taking an action is kind of foreign. And
Yeah, yeah, they just think,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's like, and I was fascinated by that. I was like, okay, can you imagine if we teach these people how to take action? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, can you imagine if they could do something?
Yeah, well, I don't want to, like, I don't want to minimize
Well,
the.
I know I was gonna say that sounds really rude, and I didn't mean it that
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
but
No, no, neither did I. Neither.
the fact that you have some people who are great at doing
Yeah, yeah,
and other people who are great at thinking, and to be
yeah,
able to pull those things, there are very few people that can do
yeah,
that,
yeah. Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
and I think it is just so fascinating that the that you got your into that whole world and how different it is.
Yeah. And so that was a very unique experience, because that's what happened. Like, they were saying to me, okay, we can do all these things. This is the theory behind it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And they're like, okay, I mean, what do you mean, let's do it? I mean, we've done it, right? I'm like, no, 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 no. Okay, we need to bring it in real life. Like, we need to actually build it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, what does that mean? So
Oh my God, I love it.
so then I said, okay, let's take it step by step by step by step. I taught them, okay, this is how you apply it. This is how these are the tools you can use. And they were like kids in the playground. Like, wow, we never got to implement all this
Wow.
and see the results in real life. What is happening, right?
That's so cool.
Yeah,
And that's another value that you bring though, because think of all the schools, the universities, whatever, all over the world, that there are all these brilliant people who have these awesome ideas, but they don't know how to implement.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's huge value. And, I'm totally going off the tracks, but I'm sitting here thinking of all
Yeah,
kinds of things you could do.
yeah. So that was really good experience, and I mean those PhDs that I hired, they were super happy, and I was happy. I got to learn this, got to interact with these this different type of people, and then when I was building my team for this new company, incidentally, I just ran into a person who was a PhD in pharmacy, and he was looking to get into sales and marketing. I'm like, how does that link together? And they're like, everything is sales and marketing these days. Even if I have to sell pharmaceuticals, I have to learn sales and marketing. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then one led to another, and that led to another. So now I have 6.
That's awesome. So what are their different areas? His was pharmaceutical. What? And I'm just curious.
Yeah. There are 2 PhDs in neuroscience.
Okay.
One is in business strategy, one is in accounting, and the last one is in marketing.
That is so cool. And so, and then you have people like, if somebody needs to build their business, then you can actually execute them. Your team could actually execute the marketing for them if they need it as well. Or if you need some kind of technology.
Whatever.
Pretty much anything they need, y'all can do it. Reminds me of that. I'm going to show my age. And Ice Baby.
Yeah.
That problem, I'll solve it.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of, though.
Yeah. It's really tough to describe it as well for me, because everybody says, hey, you should niche down. You should only talk to doctors. You should only talk to like lawyers. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I really like solving different types of problems. So I don't want to narrow it down. But
if you do niche it down, just think. The thing is, there's a wide variety of people who need your help, but it's not like everybody can afford your help or whatever. And it's not, and aside from affording, it's not that everybody can understand it and grasp it. So I think the fact that you're able to cross industries, you really are niche down, but you're not niche down into an industry. You're niche down into your area, because there probably aren't very many people that can do what you can do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. In a way, that's true.
So tell us about your new collaboration with IBM.
Yeah, sure. So IBM, we met the executives at IBM, and IBM obviously is a Fortune 50 company, and they have a lot of initiatives. One of them is for tech startups, because they help tech startups and bring new ideas into the world. And the other one is education. So the executives, we are working with Melissa. She is handling these 2 divisions for IBM. So education for young people and startups. Okay. So they are hosting this event on January 9th, and Melissa is very, very passionate about education and also making technology and education more approachable for kids. So what she came up with an idea was to marry technology with arts. So we got together with a bunch of artists, like very well-known artists. They are world-class in what they do. A choreographer, a painter, a poet, a singer. And so the idea is that we will have teaching sessions where we will mix art and science and teach kids from around the globe how to apply arts and then learn computer science through that. So it'll be fun.
So cool.
Yeah.
So give me an example of something that they're going to do.
So one of the things they are going to do is IBM obviously is really they have deep expertise in AI and machine learning, and they're supercomputer. They build all kinds of computers, right? So they have lots of expertise in that. So their AI engine is going to actually create music. So the music will be created by the machine, and then it will be played by the actual musician, and vice versa, or something like that. So it's going to be cool going from machine to human, and then
In
human.
fact,
Yeah.
and you're going to have one of the people is a Bollywood star, right?
Yeah. That's right.
That is so cool. I think it's so exciting. Now, tell me the ages of the people that you want to participate, because I was going to, but now I know I'm too old.
No, everybody's welcome. I mean,
but I don't want to. So, what are the ages ideally for IBM that they would like to participate?
Anywhere from 13 to 22, 25, people who are looking to learn. I mean, here's the thing, right? This pandemic situation has changed the whole world overnight, right?
Yeah.
So computers and programming can be a skill that anybody at any age may want to learn, because that's the future. We already knew this was the future, but within few weeks it was accelerated, right?
Yeah, it was like it. I remember, and I've probably said this on the show before. So y'all that watch, forgive me for being repetitive, but I was at the beach with my cousin the week leading up to the shutdown, and it was on the news. It was like, yeah, we're going to shut the whole country down, and I'm like, how do you shut a whole country down? You can't shut a whole country down. And then I was like, oh, this is how you do it. Crazy. And then, of course, at first we're like, oh, it's just for a week or two, and I cannot believe it's been almost a year. But like anything else, there are good things that come out of bad things. And I have seen some amazing things done. And it's also caused a lot of my clients to have to do things that they had claimed they didn't need to do, and I'm sure that you see the same thing. And for myself, I've done things that I had put off forever because I'm always doing things for, like I wanted a podcast for several years and just kept putting it off, and that's why I did my Facebook Live, because I'm like, I can do a Facebook Live and then I could just get it out in the wild right then and there. I'd have to obsess over it and,
Exactly.
doing all this production stuff.
Yeah, and there you go. Like, you are so good at having this conversation, keeping it going. But a lot of people may need to do retakes and whatnot, and it's all about like finding those opportunities. Right?
Yeah,
you said I did the exact same thing because I used to pre-record my podcast, and then when the pandemic hit, I was thinking, okay, a lot of people are on Facebook, and I might as well just stream it live. And then I got into this, in panic mode. Okay, what if I have to cough, or what if I get thirsty or something?
Scratch my nose. I have allergies, so I'm always like, it's my nose,
So I was like, okay, we'll see how it goes, and then it turned out fine.
Well, and the thing about doing it live is, like I said, I always call it just getting it out in the wild, because that way I can't obsess over it, because I know what will happen. And the other thing that I like about doing it live is that it's timely. We can talk about anything, and I don't have to have a conversation and wait 2 or 3 months for other people to, oh my gosh, who is this? Brandon Straza. Hey, Brandon. So good that he's here. So I was going to ask you, when you first started coding, what languages did you first code with?
So I started with Basic. For the longest time, I did like Visual Basic, JavaScript, a little bit of C++. And then, I mean, now I still code sometimes for fun.
It's funny because now, when I was growing up, I'm 59, so I was growing up in the 70s. You didn't have computers sitting around, and my mother wanted me to major in computer science so bad. I was like, it was just a foreign thing to me. But I ended up majoring in accounting, and I had to take programming, so I took Fortran. Have you ever done that? The punch.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was misery for me, because I am one of these people. I'm impatient, and I want to see what's happening. And so, you're sitting in line with everybody else, waiting your turn to punch the cards. Then you got to, do the error, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to sit through the line again. I hated it. Then I took Basic. And it just didn't click with me. So I was an accountant, really didn't like that, really good at it, but really didn't like it. And I didn't know myself well enough to know what I liked, but I was the controller for an international software company. And I also had a sideline business where I did business consulting for small businesses. And one of the young coders there, our company did like inventory management systems for big retail chains and visual stuff and, you know, kind of way ahead of its time. And this was 95-ish. And one of the young coders from England said, well, you ought to add web design. And I'm like, no way, because I'm thinking coding. He goes, no, it's nothing like that. So it piqued my interest just enough. And I was like, this is perfect for me because I can just do something. And of course, at the time I had to, you know, dial up and log in, but I could upload the file and immediately see, does it work? Of course, you have to build out from there.
Of course.
But, you know, I developed a shopping cart because there were no shopping carts. I developed a shopping cart for my product that I was doing and a subscription-based service and all that. And all of it was because I didn't want to have to do it the way it was supposed to be done. But sorry for talking about myself. But
no, that's great.
Curious, you know, what languages you started out with.
Yeah, those are the languages. I mean, now there are so many languages. It's every day there's a new language that comes out.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that you see a lot of this because of the kind of work that you do, the difference in the way that people think now. Younger people, the younger and younger, they think differently because they're growing up differently. And because we've been working in this world for so long, it's like I have one foot in the 59-year-old world and I have another foot in, you know, the digital world. And the other day I was talking to my husband. Well, my elderly aunt called my husband that she couldn't find her son's phone number. She could find my husband. So this is crazy that I did this. So he had her on the phone. I'm like, wait, let me call Jimmy. That's her son. So I called Jimmy and I'm like, Jimmy, I want to make sure you're there because Glola, that's my aunt, she's on the phone with Tom. I'm going to get her to hang up and I want her to talk with you. And he goes, where are you? And I was like, I'm at home. Why? And I could tell he was like, what the heck? And it wasn't clicking with me. And I looked at Tom and I'm like, tell Glola to hang up because I'm going to give her my phone to talk to Jimmy. And Tom's like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, oh my God, she's not even here. And I literally, in my mind, you know, because everything is so connected, I'm ready to be like, okay, y'all can talk now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the world is coming closer as we are getting socially distant.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be like, if I am reading something printed, I'll find myself wanting to copy and paste it or message it to somebody. I mean, I'm crazy. I told my husband I'm insane, but I'll find myself trying to pinch and zoom a printed thing or, I want to message. I'm like, okay, message it. And
maybe that's a new technology for tomorrow.
That's right. The thing that makes that so interesting to me is that I'm 59. And if I do that, just imagine the kids who grew up never knowing any other way.
Yeah, well, I mean, see, the thing is that when I look at it, I see this cycle repeated over and over again. Every 20 years, the generation changes.
Yep.
And no matter what we do, no matter what we say, we are not going to see eye to eye. You know?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right? Like, so yeah, these kids are going to grow up not even knowing what paper is, like, because everything is digital, right? So I don't know whether they'll have any less of an experience because they don't even know what they're missing.
Oh, no, they won't. What I'm talking about is that it's harder. It's so hard for older people to understand how they think and how they learn. That's what I'm so interested in because I'm like, you can't even grasp how they're thinking. Their brains are wired differently.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
I just think it's so interesting. But and a lot of my older clients, because I am 59, but because I've been doing it so long, I'm able to bridge both worlds. So I work with a lot of older clients trying to get them to update their business so they can sell it someday. Because if they don't, they'll never be able to. And so the analogy I use for them is the phone. I'm like, look, when we were growing up, a lot of businesses didn't even have a phone. Why do I need a phone? Well, probably not when I was growing up, but, or a lot of families had, some didn't have a phone, or they might have a party line. Why do I need my, all I'm gonna do is, and I'm like, now we have phones in our pockets, and phones are doing everything. And so that's what I try to get them to understand when they think the internet, everything that's been done with the internet has been done. Like, we haven't scratched the surface, because basically there are going to be entire industries built up that we don't even know.
Exactly.
Like call centers and all that. Nobody would have thought, who would have ever thought you need a call center in the 60s or whatever, 50s or 60s. So I just think it's really interesting. You're right. Everything is going to continue to evolve. People that are older are always going to be older, and this young people are always going to think they're stupid. But everything is at an astronomical pace right now.
I mean, like I'll tell you a couple of facts. So you're absolutely right. Like, right now my team is on 5 continents, right? I haven't even met any one of them face to face even once. And I don't think I will get to meet them. But that's the power of the internet, right? Like, when was that possible? Now, the second thing is regarding this new change, like this era that we are going through. Every few tens of years, like 50, 60 years, there's a huge change that comes. Like automobiles were discovered. Okay, electricity was discovered, and that changes the way that we live, right?
Right.
So what is happening right now is multiple things are coming together, which are like they are going to change how we live and play and work. So artificial intelligence is taking off, right? When industrial revolution started, that was about 150 years ago. We were able to free up our hands and legs to do other things, because now the machines were doing that job. With AI, we will be able to free our minds to do whatever we want, right? So that's one thing. Blockchain is coming up, where we can, since the beginning of time, we could not trust each other as humans. If I said to you, I'll give you this much for whatever you you give me rice, I will give you $10. Never could trust each other. So we had to go to banks. We had to go to legal.
We had to have official things that made us do what we said we were going to do.
Blockchain is going to remove that, right? So we can trust each other as human to human. Cloud computing is coming, where everything is available in the cloud all the time.
Right? Wherever you go. Because like back in the early 2000s, I had to drag my laptop and try to get online at a internet cafe. It wasn't even wireless then, just to try to do the little bit of work that I couldn't get away from when I was on vacation.
And then
worry about that.
Human Genome Project was completed in the year 2000. So that affects how we make medicine, how we create new food products, whatever it is. Then moving that one step forward, there's a new technology called CRISPR, which was invented like a few years ago, I think. What that allows scientists to do is gene therapy at a very fine grain level.
A client was telling me about that last week.
So it can get rid of things like cancers or now they are 3D printing parts, like human body parts, so they can 3D print a lung in a pig. So all these technologies, which are like, it used to happen like every 50, 60, 100 years, something like that happened. But now this is happening in a very compressed time frame. So the next 10, 20 years, you will not even recognize the kind of life humans are going to live, because of all this coming together at the same time.
To me, it's so exciting. People are like, oh, why do we need this? Why do we need that? But I look at, like you said, it frees you up. Think of it's going to come no matter what. And just the things that could happen. Back when my kids were little, this would have been the early 90s. This would have been before 95, because I wasn't versed in the internet really yet then, so it had to be before 95. can't remember exactly, but I took them to an IMAX movie, and I can't remember the name, but it was like this space station. And the families live on it and everything. And this little girl's like, I'm going to go play with my friends. And she goes in this room. There's a big monitor on the wall, and they play. They're basically you and I. Except they're playing. They each have their own things, and they do their thing, and they play, and they leave. And at the time, I thought, that's sad. To me, it seems sad because I was used to everybody being there. So fast forward, it probably was 2 or 3 years. And, AOL was big. This would have been 90-ish. My kids were like 5 and 7. All these kids were in my front yard playing. We lived in Florida. They're all in my front yard. And all of a sudden they go, let's go home and get on AOL. And they go, they all ran inside, and they all got on their computer, and they got on AOL and started chatting. And I just thought, to me, that was, it was, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool because it made me realize, that foreign thing isn't sad. It's cool and it's exciting, and it opens up new possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you take it. Some people, like my kids are obsessed with YouTube and all that, but I mean, you cannot stop them from doing what they want to do.
Right. How old are your kids?
8 and 10.
Oh, okay. They're at a fun age. My baby is going to be 31 in February. and my son is 32. I'm like, I don't know. I'm only 39, Manuj. I don't know how they're that old when I'm old.
You don't look 39.
No, I'm 59. But they actually grew up in my business. They literally grew up in my business. They both worked for me for pay from the time they were 15. My son doesn't work for me anymore because he just wanted a break. I'm like, they want to do their own thing. And, my daughter still does, but she also has her own business. She's an artist and illustrator, and she has her own business. So, but it's going to be interesting, though, to see what your kids pick up from you being an entrepreneur. That's something Brandon Straza and I spoke about yesterday, about having kids in the family of an entrepreneur, especially with you working from home now, but the conversations that you're able to have, and they end up being so much more worldly than other normal kids.
You're absolutely right. Like growing up, and that's what I think about, my days in the factory. I picked up a lot of things about, life, about professional life there, just observing people and seeing, how they behave and all that.
Yeah, true. Well, I'll tell you, I pulled tobacco growing up. I learned a lot of things there, which is I don't want to pull tobacco. It's like freezing and cold, and because you had to be out there before the sun came up, and it would be so cold and wet, and then the sun would come up and the tobacco wax would bake on your hands, and it's miserable and hot. So, it's like that was motivation to go to college.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, everything happens for a reason, right?
That's right. And not to cut that down, because I mean, even tobacco, people made a really good living for it. My grandfather did, and so, but not Lisa didn't want to do it. I'm good with gardening, but not pulling tobacco. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, like same way our kids don't want to do what we are doing. They want to do something else.
That's right. Yeah, what you're doing, even though it's really cutting edge to them, it's like. It's just dad. Old man. I've had you almost 45 minutes, so I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want you to first of all, I want to ask you, what was your biggest surprise from being an entrepreneur? What do you think has been the biggest surprise to you?
The biggest surprise is that people want to be right. They don't want to win.
Ooh. That might hit a little too close to home for me. That's very interesting, though. Yeah, they don't necessarily want to win. They want to be right. Can you give us an example that isn't like gonna?
Yeah, I shared earlier, right? Like bootstrapping, tech startup, right? So many entrepreneurs, they spend their life raising money. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And because in their minds, raising money is the way to build a startup.
Yeah.
Right? And they just want to be right, because I know people who have worked their entire, like entire entrepreneurial life raising money and having 5% stake in their own company.
I can't even imagine that. That would just drive me crazy.
Yeah. So
well, that gives us all something to think about, that we need to remember. Hey, we don't want to be right. We want to win. We need to take advice from people like Manuj who know what they're doing. So
no, but I am not right all the time.
Exactly. But the way I look at it is, the more minds you bring together, one doesn't equal two. One is way more than that. Then if you bring in 3 and 4, you know, it just multiplies. So that's why I love putting all these brains together. So that's your biggest surprise. What would be your biggest tip for somebody who is really struggling right now, adapting their business, you know, COVID, everything? What would be your biggest tip kind of for survival or making it?
Talk to a lot of people. You know, I've written a huge case study on this on Medium. People can go to innerget.com, read it. But basically, you know, what you will see is any problem that we need a solution for, or anything that we need in life, anything, even our life is given to us by other people. Right? So every dollar, every cent that we have ever earned, right? Anything of value that we possess was given to us by somebody else, right?
Manuj, that is very powerful.
Yeah, but isn't that true?
It's true. It's so true, but it's such a basic thing that we don't think of.
Yeah.
You know, we think of, I'm self-sufficient, I can do it, but everything has been given to us in some way or another, or earned.
Exactly. So the biggest tip is talk to at least 20 people every day. Just talk to them and say, hey, you know, this is who I am, and I solve these kind of problems. What is your problem? What kind of business are you running in? And a lot of people may not want to talk to you. A lot of people may want to talk to you. Some conversations will be pleasant, some will not be pleasant, but few of them will be so life-changing that it will give you what you really are looking for.
That is great advice. Now I have to take it. So when you're 20 a day, is it just in passing? Is it people that you're reaching out to on LinkedIn? A whole combination.
No, I mean, have a method to the madness. And again, you know, I have detailed this whole thing out step by step on.
Okay, I'm gonna go find it.
But basically, you know, you really need to figure out who you want to talk to first,
right?
Because you know, we can say, oh, I sell to everyone, but that is like a spear that is not sharpened, and it's not going to be effective, because you cannot talk to 7 billion people at the same time. So you really need to talk to a specific kind of person, and that is basically, you have to look inside you, what kind of person you want to work with, and then you speak to those kind of people, 20 of them every day. So if you're, you know, I was giving the example earlier, if you want to talk to lawyers, just say, okay, this is a list of lawyers in my town, I'm gonna talk to 20 of these people, doctors, whatever. Or for me, it's more entrepreneurs or executives of large corporations. So I talk to at least 20, 40, 50 of them every day.
That's great advice. Okay, now I have a new goal. Thank you, Manuj. You gave me something else I have to do. No, I love that, because, and the thing that I really like about it is very specific. It's actionable. You're not just going, you know, reach out to people. You're saying you need to do this every single day, and a number that goes with it. And so I know, and everybody else knows, we either do it or we don't. There's no fudging it, right?
Exactly.
So we're going to put we'll put in the comments the links to, you can either paste it or you can send it to me on Messenger, and we'll add it there. Now tell people that your company is Tetranoodle, right?
That's right.
And the website is tetranoodle.com.
That's right. Yeah. So the website is tetranoodle.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn and Facebook. Or send me a direct message. Any kind of problem you're having, we enjoy solving problems. You know, so if you do have any problem, reach out and.
Well, and I want to thank you, because all those months ago last year, you know, when I met you at Steve Sims Speakeasy, and you knew that I was doing this thing with veteran suicide and the NASCAR team, and you introduced me to the marketing person at fundraiser, and that's how I met Daryl Hatton. And now Daryl is in the book that you're in. By the way, y'all, Manuj is going to be in my book that's coming out in a month or so. Disrupt Your Now, the Successful Entrepreneur's Guide to Reimagining Your Business and Life. So it's people like him that we're having their stories woven through the book to try to help y'all. So that's Tetranoodle. So, and then the Human Code, tell them how that's coming up this Saturday, right?
Yeah, this Saturday. Yeah, Human Code is a Facebook group that you can go join right now, especially if you're a youngster looking to learn science, but you're intimidated by computer science. So this will be a fun way to get introduced to computers. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, we are planning a whole bunch of fun events and fun giveaways.
Okay, so you have the event this Saturday, but the Facebook group will be ongoing, and you'll have ongoing events, right?
Yeah, we will have more Facebook groups. It's a whole thing that we are unfolding in 2021. And,
I'm so excited, and I'm really excited for my cousin's son that I told you about.
Yeah.
I love this. The reason I laughed a minute ago when you were describing it is because I signed up for it. I'm not a youngster, and I'm like,
it's for everyone. It's for everyone. Everyone is welcome, because you can learn something from, and these are amazing people, very, very successful people, all these artists. The choreographer that we were talking about, he has 100 million fans around the globe. So,
oh my gosh, and he's the one with the really awesome suit, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Wear, because I think he would look really good. I was like, man, Manuj can pull that off.
No way. Yeah, so it's fun, and then we'll have more events as well. But yeah, come join us, and it'll be a cool experience. I'm looking forward to it myself.
That's really exciting. Thank you so much for sharing it. Thank you for being on here with me. I've really enjoyed talking with you. And
thank you so much.
Thanks for everything, Manuj.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.